Hello and welcome to Decode Your English, the channel where we not only improve your English, but also explore powerful ideas for a better life. I'm really happy you're here with me today. Whether you're at home, on a walk, commuting to work, or just taking a break, thank you for spending this time with me. I hope today's episode will give you both a better understanding of yourself and new ways to practice your English in a meaningful way. So, let me ask you a question. Have you ever put something off? I mean that moment when you know you need to do something, maybe study for an exam, start a project, or practice speaking English, but instead, you scroll through your phone, watch a video, or tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. If that sounds familiar, then this episode is just for you. Today, we're going to talk about this sneaky habit called procrastination. We'll explore why it happens, how it holds us back, and most importantly, how to break free from it, even just a little bit. Procrastination isn't always a bad thing. It's a signal, a message that something in our habits, our mindset, or our environment needs attention. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't just about giving you quick tips or motivational quotes. This episode is more than that. It's a chance to stop, reflect, and really understand why you keep putting things off. It's about noticing the thoughts that hold you back, like fear, overwhelm, or the need to be perfect, and finding simple, realistic ways to move forward again. And while we're doing that, you're also learning English. Think about that. You're not just listening for fun, you're learning real vocabulary, natural sentence patterns, and expressions people actually use in conversations. This is how fluency is built slowly, naturally, and with topics that matter to you. So, as we go through this episode, I invite you to think about your own life. Can you remember a time when you procrastinated? What were you avoiding? What did it feel like in your mind or your body? And if you're putting something off right now, what's something you hope will change? Keep those thoughts in your mind as we begin. This is your time for language growth, for self-reflection, and for unlocking a little more clarity in your journey. Let's begin. Why do we procrastinate? Have you ever found yourself delaying something important, even when you know it's good for you? Maybe you sit down to study English, but instead, you check your messages, or you want to start a new hobby, but you tell yourself, I'll do it later when I have more time. It's a strange feeling. You're busy, but not with the things that matter. You're active, but not moving toward your goals. It's like standing at the edge of a pool, knowing you want to jump in, but instead, you keep walking around, waiting for the right moment. That's what procrastination feels like. Procrastination isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's quiet. It sneaks up on you. One moment, you're full of ideas and plans, and the next, you're distracted, unmotivated, or just stuck. You might not even realize you're procrastinating until hours, days, or even weeks have passed. You feel frustrated, maybe even guilty, but you can't quite explain why you didn't start. Something inside feels off. You're waiting for something, motivation, energy, or the perfect conditions, but you're not sure what. People procrastinate in all areas of life. For some, it's about work. Maybe you have a big project due, but you keep reorganizing your desk or checking emails instead of starting. For others, it's personal goals. You want to exercise, eat healthier, or learn a new skill, but you keep saying, I'll start next week. And for many, procrastination shows up in language learning. You want to speak English fluently, but when it's time to practice, you hesitate. You think, I'll practice when I know more words, or I'll speak when I'm less nervous. But the more you wait, the harder it feels to begin. It's like a cycle that keeps you in the same place. Procrastination isn't just about being lazy. It's deeper than that. Sometimes it's about fear. Sometimes it's about feeling overwhelmed. And sometimes it's about not knowing where to start. You might feel like you're carrying a heavy backpack full of tasks, and instead of unpacking it, you just set it aside. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep putting this off? Maybe you've even thought, what's wrong with me? If you've had those thoughts, you're not alone. Procrastination is part of being human. Everyone does it sometimes. The important thing is to understand that procrastinating doesn't mean you're broken. It just means something needs your attention, maybe your mindset, your habits, or even your heart. So, take a moment now, think about your own life. Where are you procrastinating? Is it a task at work, a personal goal, or your English practice? What's holding you back? How long have you been delaying? These questions aren't easy, but asking them is the first step toward change. Procrastination isn't the end of your journey. It's a sign, a gentle nudge to pause, look within, and take your next step, even if it's a small one. Common reasons we procrastinate. So, why do we procrastinate? Why do we avoid the things we know we need to do? There are many reasons, but today, I want to focus on 5 common causes. These can come from outside, like a busy schedule or distractions, or from inside, like our thoughts and emotions. The good news, if the problem starts inside, the solution can, too. Let's dive in. Point 1. Fear of not being good enough. Fear is one of the biggest reasons we procrastinate. It's not always fear of failure, it's often fear of not being good enough. Imagine you want to practice speaking English. You sit down to record yourself or join a conversation, but a voice in your head says, what if I sound silly? What if I make mistakes? That fear stops you before you even start. You avoid the task to protect yourself from feeling embarrassed or judged. But here's the thing, avoiding the task doesn't make the fear go away. It just keeps you stuck. 2. Perfectionism. Another common reason is perfectionism, the belief that if something isn't perfect, it's not worth doing. Maybe you want to write an email in English, but you keep rewriting it because it's not perfect. Or you want to start a project, but you wait until you have the perfect plan. Perfectionism tricks you into thinking you're being productive, but really, you're just delaying. The truth is, nothing is ever perfect. Waiting for perfection means waiting forever. 3. Feeling overwhelmed. Smeeties. We procrastinate because a task feels too big. Imagine you want to improve your English fluency. You think, I need to learn thousands of words, master grammar, and sound like a native speaker. It feels like climbing a mountain. So, instead of starting, you freeze. You tell yourself, it's too much, and you do something easier instead, like watching TV. When a task feels overwhelming, our brain looks for an escape. But big tasks become manageable when you break them into smaller pieces. 4. Lack of clarity. Procrastination also happens when we're not sure what we want. Maybe you know you want to grow, maybe learn English, get fit, or change your career, but you don't have a clear plan. Without a clear direction, it's easy to feel lost. You might say, I'll start when I figure out what to do. But without a goal, you keep wandering, doing the same things every day without moving towards something meaningful. It's like sailing a boat without a map. You're moving, but not toward a destination. 5. Distractions and habits. Finally, our environment and habits can fuel procrastination. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Social media, notifications, endless videos. You sit down to study, but your phone buzzes and suddenly you're scrolling for an hour. Or maybe you've built a habit of putting things off. Every time you think about starting, your brain says, later. Over time, later becomes your default. The good news, if you've built a habit of procrastinating, you can build a habit of taking action. So, let's pause and reflect. Which of these feels true for you? Is it fear holding you back? Are you waiting for perfection? Do you feel overwhelmed by big tasks? Are you unclear about what you want? Or are distractions stealing your focus? Whatever it is, it's okay. These are normal experiences. You're not lazy or broken, you're human. The key is to notice what's stopping you. Once you see it, you can start to change it. The role of self-doubt and mindset. Now, let's talk about something that quietly fuels procrastination. Self-doubt. Self-doubt is that little voice that says, you're not ready, you're not good enough, or someone else could do this better. It's like an invisible wall that stops you from starting. For example, maybe you want to join an English conversation group, but self-doubt whispers, what if I don't know what to say? What if I sound awkward? So, you don't join, you stay silent, and your confidence shrinks. Self-doubt often comes from limiting belief thoughts that tell you what you can't do. Maybe you think, I'm too old to learn English fluently, or I'll never sound natural. These beliefs might come from past experiences or times someone corrected your English harshly, or a moment you felt embarrassed. Over time, those moments shape how you see yourself. But here's the truth. Just because you believe something doesn't mean it's true. You can change your beliefs. This brings us to a powerful idea, the growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that you can improve with effort, practice, and time. Instead of saying, I can't do this, you say, I can't do this yet. The word, yet, opens the door to possibility. It reminds you that skills, like speaking English or tackling a project, can grow. People with a growth mindset don't see mistakes as failures, they see them as lessons. In some cultures, mistakes are tied to shame, but they don't have to be. Mistakes are how we learn. Let me share a story. I once worked with a student who procrastinated on speaking English. He studied grammar for hours, but when it was time to talk, he froze. I asked him why, and he said, I'm afraid of messing up. We talked about how mistakes are part of learning. Slowly, he started speaking one sentence at a time. His English wasn't perfect, but his confidence grew. Why? Because he shifted his mindset from I need to be perfect to I'm learning, and that's enough. So, I want to ask you, what beliefs are holding you back? Do you think you need to be perfect before you start? Do you believe you're not good enough to try? Or do you believe you can grow? Even if it's slow, your mindset shapes your actions. If you plant seeds of doubt, you grow fear. If you plant seeds of courage and curiosity, you grow confidence. Choose the seeds you plant carefully. Analysis paralysis. Thinking too much. Let's talk about a trap that fuels procrastination. Analysis paralysis. It's when you think so much about a task that you never start. You want to learn English, so you research the best apps, books, and courses. You read reviews, compare methods, and plan the perfect study routine. But weeks go by, and you haven't studied at all. That's analysis paralysis, when overthinking keeps you stuck. I experienced this myself once. I wanted to start a blog to practice my writing. I spent weeks researching platforms, themes, and topics. I kept saying I'll start when I have the perfect setup. But that moment never came. I was overthinking because I was afraid of starting imperfectly. Finally, I realized there's no perfect plan. There's only progress. So, I started writing one messy post at a time. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. In language learning, analysis paralysis shows up a lot. You might wait for the best textbook or the right time to speak, but waiting doesn't make you better, it just delays your progress. The best way to improve is to start. Even if it's messy, say one sentence. Write one paragraph. Take one small step. Thinking is important, but action is what moves you forward. So, reflect for a moment. Where are you overthinking? Is there a task you keep planning but never start? Are you waiting for the perfect moment? If so, try this. Ask yourself, what's one small action I can take right now? It doesn't have to be big, just start. Small steps break the cycle of overthinking and build momentum over time. The myth of motivation. Here's a belief that fuels procrastination. The idea that you need to feel motivated to start. Many people think, I'll work on my English when I feel inspired, or I'll start that project when I'm in the mood. But motivation is like the weather, it comes and goes. If you wait for it, you might wait forever. The truth is, action creates motivation, not the other way around. Think about exercise. If you only go to the gym when you feel like it, you won't go often. But if you build a habit, say, exercising 3 times a week, you don't need motivation. You just go. Over time, the habit changes you. The same is true for learning English. If you wait to feel ready, you'll stay stuck. But if you practice a little every day, maybe repeating phrases from this episode or speaking for 5 minutes, you'll improve. Not because you were always motivated, but because you were consistent. Let me tell you about a friend who wanted to learn guitar. She kept saying, "I'll practice when I feel inspired." Months passed, and the guitar sat in the corner. Finally, she decided to play for 5 minutes a day, even if she didn't feel like it. Slowly, she got better. The more she played, the more motivated she felt. Action led to motivation, not the other way around. So, are you waiting for motivation? What if you started anyway? What if you wrote one English sentence today, spoke one phrase out loud, or listened to a podcast for 5 minutes? Those small actions add up. Don't wait for the stars to align. Start where you are with what you have. The first step is often the hardest, but it's also the one that sets you free. How to break free from procrastination. Let's get to the good part. How to stop procrastinating and start moving forward. You don't need a huge plan or a perfect solution. Small, consistent steps are enough to break the cycle. Here are 5 practical things you can do today. 1. Set a tiny goal. Start with something small and specific. Instead of saying, "I'll learn English," say, "I'll learn 5 new words today." Instead of "I'll get fit," say, "I'll walk for 10 minutes." Small goals are less intimidating, and when you complete them, you feel a sense of accomplishment. That feeling fuels more action. 2. Use the 2-minute rule. If a task feels overwhelming, commit to doing it for just 2 minutes. Want to practice English? Speak for 2 minutes. Want to start a project? Work on it for 2 minutes. Often, starting is the hardest part. Once you begin, you might keep going longer than you planned. 3. Change your environment. To your surroundings can trigger procrastination. If you always study in a distracting place, move somewhere new. A quiet room, a library, or a park. Turn off notifications or put your phone in another room. Small changes in your environment can help you focus and take action. 4. Write it down. Journaling can help you understand why you're procrastinating. Write down what you're avoiding and why. Ask, "What's stopping me? Am I afraid? Overwhelmed?" Seeing your thoughts on paper makes them less scary. If you're learning English, try writing your journal in English. It's great practice. 5. Reward yourself. Give yourself a small reward for taking action. After studying English for 15 minutes, treat yourself to a coffee or a favorite song. Rewards make tasks feel less like a chore and more like a choice. They also train your brain to associate action with positive feelings. Let's pause and reflect. What's one small action you can take today to stop procrastinating? Maybe it's writing one sentence in English, turning off your phone for 10 minutes, or setting a 2-minute timer to start a task. Whatever it is, start small. Small steps lead to big changes when you stay consistent. A new perspective on procrastination. If you're procrastinating right now, I want to remind you of something important. This isn't the end of your story. Procrastination doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're human. Sometimes procrastination is a sign that you need to pause and listen to yourself. Maybe you're overwhelmed and need a break. Maybe you're afraid and need courage. Or maybe you're unclear about what you want, and that's okay. Think about a caterpillar in a cocoon. It spends time in stillness before it transforms into a butterfly. That stillness isn't wasted, it's part of the process. Your procrastination might be a moment of stillness, a pause before something new begins. What if, instead of judging yourself, you saw this as a chance to grow? What if procrastination is your mind's way of saying, slow down, reflect, and choose your next step? There's a saying I love: the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Right now, you might feel like you're standing still, but that first step is closer than you think. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Every time you take a small action, whether it's speaking English, starting a task, or trying something new, you're moving closer to your goals. If you're learning English and feel like you're not progressing, remember, fluency isn't a straight line. It's a winding path with ups and downs. Some days, you'll feel confident. Other days, you'll stumble. But every time you try, you're growing even if it's slow. Even if it's invisible. Be kind to yourself. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be to take your next step. Closing thoughts as we come to the end of today's episode. Let's reflect on what we've explored. We started by talking about procrastination, that sneaky habit of putting things off, even when we know they're important. We looked at why it happens, fear of not being good enough, perfectionism, feeling overwhelmed, lack of clarity, and distractions. We talked about how self-doubt and limiting beliefs can keep us stuck, and how a growth mindset can set us free. We explore analysis paralysis, when overthinking stops us from acting, and debunk the myth that you need motivation to start. Instead, we learned that action creates motivation. Finally, we shared practical steps to break free, setting tiny goals, using the 2-minute rule, changing your environment, journaling, and rewarding yourself. Most importantly, we reframed procrastination. It's not a failure, it's a pause, a moment to reflect and choose your next step. You're not alone in this. Everyone procrastinates sometimes, and everyone can find their way forward. So, here's my final question. What's one small action you can take today to break free from procrastination? Maybe it's speaking one English sentence out loud, writing a short journal entry, or starting a task for 2 minutes. Whatever it is, just begin. If this episode resonated with you, I encourage you to listen again. Repeat phrases out loud to practice your fluency. Pause and write your thoughts in English as a journaling exercise. This isn't just about understanding the message, it's about growing your English skills in a way that feels personal and real. You're doing more than you think, and you're stronger than you know. Thank you for joining me on Decode Your English. Keep learning, keep growing, and never stop believing in your ability to move forward. Until next time, take that first step and then take another.